But Jimmy Bear, you
Last
told me
night we
when
got
things
another
are bad
bit of
in the
leadership when we
market,
got results from
you
Carvana.
need
They
to
come
put
on
more
the show.
money
It's
into
a
it. That's
digital
what you
used car
taught me.
retailer that
I
lets you
mean,
buy vehicles online and pick them up from a
of course, the
gigantic
market outside,
automated
I suppose I
garage,
should use
basically
my mind,
used
my
car
brain a
vending
little bit.
machines,
And
or
hope.
they simply have them delivered to your home. I warned you away from Carvana last week because it's exactly the kind of unprofitable company
Right
that
now, it's a
actually
little bit of
does not
trouble. A
work
lot
in the
of things
current
are, well,
environment.
either you're not
Going to trouble with used
Tesla
car business,
GPT-3 over there,
serious
Elon, with
problems.
neural net set up to the
Sure
moon
enough,
being the
Carvana stock
MRI,
has
so
been
you can
hammered.
figure out
Dropped
how to
9%
hack
yesterday
anybody's
going
code with
into the quarter.
an
Sure sign that
Arduino or
somebody
a factory
realized
that
something was
backs
very
that
wrong.
up.
Then Carvana reported last night, and it was a real
You
doozy,
figured out what the
which
limit
is
is
why
when
the
you get
stock
there,
plunged
when
another
wires don't
10%
blinky light.
today. This
That's how
one
you know.
is just
Back to
a
the
total
why it's
house
fun for
of
me, again,
pain.
understanding the wave function here. It's like what a lot of pressure under the water right now.
What
Everybody's
was wrong in the quarter?
homogenized by
A lot.
the
First, I
log
got some time here. While Carvana's
prime.
sales came
It's
in better than
3,
expected.
it's
Ooh, I like
2,
that, up
it's highly
56% year over year.
composite,
That was
it's
all about
prime,
higher
highly
average
composite
selling
prime,
prices, up
it's
33.4%.
diversified,
Just like we
it's
saw with CarMax, those
high-low
sky-high prices
diversified.
are driving
Yes,
away
that
potential
matters to
buyers.
you. No, it
That's why
doesn't matter
Carvana's
to
unit
you.
sales
The
came in
name,
weaker
your
than expected,
broker,
105,000.
wherever your
Street was looking
platform,
for
your last
109,000.
DDoS
At the same time, the gross profit came in much weaker
DDoS
than
attack
expected. This
on the
really keeps
DOS
down
for
12% per year.
it starts to be
The key
rectangle and two
metric, though, the
polar
most
coordinates
important one,
on
the gross
bosonic
profit per
harmonics.
unit. You might think
It means
that
like
would
tone
be
and frequency.
doing very well, given the huge year-over-year price increases in
I
used cars,
don't, but it
correct?
would be good for
Well,
somebody
Carvana's
who
gross
does that
profit per
wasn't
unit
paying
was down
attention to things.
2.5%
Probably probability
year-over-year.
because the
Down
tone come in
38%
says it's
versus the
probably going
previous
to come
quarter.
in like that because
That's
people were
disastrous.
hoping, not paying
That's not
attention
just
to the
weaker
market,
than
pushing
anticipated.
too hard to
That's
really what those
terrible.
things will do.
Let
I
me put
chose
this
to
in
love
perspective. When
both
CarMax saw its
Chewy
gross profit
and
per unit shrink by
Petco,
just
right?
2% versus the
And
previous
well,
quarter,
unless
that
you
was
can
seen as a
handle
gigantic
that
negative.
horse on
But
the
Carvana,
farm,
that number's
you're
down
going to be bad.
38%. Stunningly bad. Why? Because the cost of acquiring used cars
Right
is also
now,
going through the roof. Naturally,
these are
that
shorts on
huge
trades
gross
for
profit,
timelines that you would get a
per
little bit
unit
more comfortable
misflew
over
the
a
rest
solid
of the
year,
income statement.
putting
It was the
in
most important thing that occurred.
days and hours,
Carvana experiencing much
specific
larger than
teams of
anticipated
players that
losses.
I
The analysts were
feel,
looking for
and
them
then
to lose
hopefully
about
that
44 per
standard
share.
model when I
Instead, they lost an
watch
astonishing
certain videos, how you should be thinking
$2.89
and
per share.
talking about it if you're in on those
Don't miss a
markets
second of Mad Money.
over that
Follow
time.
at
Nice
Jim
little
Kramer
mark,
on
in the
Twitter.
ledger,
Have a
or
question?
whatever.
Tweet Kramer. Hashtag Mad Tweets. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com.
You would make money
Or
by
give us a call at
informational logic in the car service
1-800-743-CNBC.
about
Miss
GPT-3 cracking the
something?
Arduino
Head to
out and
madmoney.cnbc.com.
reprogramming that reprogrammable ROM chip, or MOS, right? Or the first
Shepard Smith here.
chip that
Thanks
you
for
program
watching
with a laptop and a
CNBC
computer.
on YouTube.
A real brute force, hillbilly spinner, moving the house stuff around the LiDAR overhead camera. And, well, again, if we could, I can, because that's our beat and tree meeting. Usually a wave function for it as far as Apple paradoxes about or Macintosh, the whole mainline cutting this down and cloning or grafting into it. And some mechanic, that's frame rate. It does, grows by seasons, 2 years, Jack Daniel models. Seems like a good way to store 11%, right? I'm not necessarily catching it in the casino like that, but not necessarily having cars. Maybe a couple of Teslas because, right, it's the first battery pack before they go. And maybe because the industry at a high volume, there's a probability in there that there might be floating around, maybe looking at it like that. But like I said, newer batteries, bigger, nastier, that phase jump that number by a band with a differential still keeps why certain names are higher than others or performing at a differential to the amount of that water coming across that trench. If you thought about some name or how long or how far it would go. Into that Archimedes, you could get back to some Newton meters that are a little easier to handle in terms of why that vehicle or a prime of that vehicle, an inversion, if you will, Carvana, whether it be the dealership or computer programmer version, integrating a site for more pegs on what it comes in. There's truth to the market. That's their floor product. You could credit that to a certain degree, but it plays the game on the things before you start turning these into those tomb stocks because the overall pressure of that set in, but they might be over leveraged, right? Saturated as far as even at an overset, but they're not even platformed to scale Like, it's 30 times leverage on things because at Twitter at 140 or Nvidia, or not Nvidia, but then some steel mill and factory, or at least logistic cloud for it, running at 180. Now you tell me nickel's out at 1 trillion, or back in the day when those things were running away with Mitsubishi having a $35,000 stock on top of what, because holding computer chips and telenetic and nickel in a container behind you. Steel, volume, gold, jewelry, and computer chips doesn't take a lot in what you actually get the return on, because you're a jewelist, or what electroplate, that kind of thing, is a huge return on dark matter and free radiant energies, to how that stuff all lines up into it. So Ford CT Paradox put a little bit more on it, maybe 1.5 down, 2 down Q2, because the overall market and people that, well, not Zelensky, but take them all out. Fuck everybody. You know what? Zelensky, you do good, you'll be good across the board, and you just do it and you float to the top. Just like to everybody else. At any rate, catch you on the next one.